Welcome to another edition of
Consensus Unreality.
Unreality.
How's your podcast?
Yep. We've got a lot on the docket for tonight. Some interesting stuff. Some interesting intersections. We're still comfortably resting in Philip K. Dick land.
Resting in the dick. In the underwear.
You can't even. Yeah, if you go any further, it's uncalled for, lewd, and probably not even funny.
It might not be funny. That's true. And as you know, we got to be funny.
Yeah, that's what they're telling us. As a kind of soft target for the evening, we're sort of dancing around the idea of radio transmissions coming from alien voices. It's
Maybe
kind
you
of
are.
distinguished from voices from beyond, too. I do feel like there's a large difference in, although there's intersections, but there's a large difference between transmissions from the deceased and technology and transmissions from aliens and technology. Like, there's certainly intersections there with non-corporeal beings. If we look at the history in literature and these wonderful books we like to look at.
These lovely books.
These beautiful books. The big, beautiful book, Bill.
Well, yeah. I got kind of sidelined this week, and maybe we'll talk about that stuff on the back end, but it all kind of ties together in a weird way.
Really?
I'm really deep in the...
It's weird.
What?
I don't know. It's kind of like heavy. I feel like the material is like half pretty heavy for tonight.
Heavy?
Heavy stuff. I mean, Radio Free Albemuth is the Philip K. Dick manuscript posthumous book that we looked at. But also you have some Zodiac stuff that you've been researching or reading, right?
Well, I've been reading a book that I've been kind of putting off reading for a while, but it really, and I hadn't really known what the angle was, but it's a book about like mid 20th century fanzine culture and the way it kind of crops up, or the things that crop up within it, like Shaver, like John Keel. It's utterly bizarre.
Richard Shaver, a classic. Love
Richard Shaver, a classic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll talk about that a bit. And yeah, so I just finished the book, and it's called How to Find Zodiac by Jarett Kobek, who is a really interesting, I guess, you'd call him like a literary fiction writer who spent his sort of COVID period researching the Zodiac on a whim and sort of writing about it. And it turned into 2 books, one of which was where it seems to him, and kind of to me too, he found the Zodiac killer and like kind of identified him as this zine writer out of Vallejo, California, Paul Dorr. Yeah.
Damn.
And so it's almost a biography, an archival biography of this truly bizarre and in some ways kind of terrifying figure out of the fanzine subculture who, I don't know, like very, very likely might also be the Zodiac killer.
Is this like, is it substantiated at all? You know how there was like, we talked about, there was a conspiracy theory about Amelia Earhart being this woman who like lived an elderly aged life in New Jersey, and some guy wrote a book about this lady, and he's like, that's fucking Amelia Earhart, actually.
Yeah, no, this
like
is way
otherwise unsubstantiated.
Yeah, this is way more substantial. It's like, and yeah, I don't know how much we want to talk about it on the front end of the show, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend the book.
Well, why don't you save that for the back end? We've got some occult New York sightseeing to talk about. Also some alien New Jersey stuff can revisit as well for the Patreon. I think in the crossover of that, we're going to talk about an interesting figure in George Hunt Williamson, who we've talked about on the show before. I kind of see him as being maybe the most influential voice in UFOlogy, in New Age, the development of like New Age subculture through the 60s, 70s, and even...
That's a tall order, man. Come on.
What we have online now, who do you think is more... If you had to pick out one person, who's more influential? Say Blavatsky.
No, probably influential in what sense?
Exactly.
Like having their fingers in more pies. I mean, it's probably... I don't know. I think he's maybe tied with Keel or someone like that, or Valet.
No, I mean, maybe Jacques Vallée, but not Keel. Keel's stuff is too idiosyncratic. It's too...
I don't know. Williamson's pretty idiosyncratic.
No,
maybe
but it's
Morning
not.
Of the Magicians.
I don't know, man. No,
Morning of the Magicians. Yeah.
I don't. Morning of the Magicians had developed some folkloric objects. Like Nazi occultism. It added a lot to like that pseudo
it's hard to beat
history. It certainly created some like folkloric objects that were accepted as truth, like Maria Orsic, the Vril Society and that stuff. And Vallée has done, some analysis and speculation in terms of what alien contact is and sort of parsing it out in a philosophical sense. I feel like Keel's stuff, although, I would say he's definitely one of the most important figures, it does really stand alone a lot of the time in what he's saying. And he's most akin to like Charles Fort, like we've talked about this certainly, but he kind of takes the mantle from Charles Fort, which is has an element of absurdity to it, which can't be discounted. I
mean, I don't know. Williamson is important. I don't know if he's, because he kind of comes up with the contactees, and he was certainly influential in that realm.
You must take a look at Other Tongues, Other Flesh.
That's a cool
from
one.
1953, and all of the concepts in this book, like they go to spawn so many ideas and things that are like totally blossomed in New Age subculture. The idea of wanderers, the idea of a harvest. The idea of intruders, so much like saucerology and like the idea of, this savior like dualistic war between, alien factions, all of the ideas of like different alien races, which is memeified online right now. Aliens contacting us through radios. He's so early on that, apart from like, Marconi and Tesla, who maybe are obviously the progenitors of that idea.
You do wonder how much this stuff was in the air, though. I mean, just as a devil's advocate kind of thing, he's definitely like a fulcrum or something for so much that was going on, though. Yeah, I was looking at. Did you have a chance to look at the FBI result for George Hunt Williamson?
No, I didn't.
That website, the Black Vault, has it. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they just did like a all results for George Williamson kind of request, and the FBI files are pretty wild. Mostly it's about this guy Thomas Eichhoff. Have you ever heard about that thing where he was this kind of saucer guy in the 50s who was informing on all of the contactees, Williamson included?
Yeah.
And so a lot of it's just like testimony of this guy Eichhoff talking about like basically where these guys are going to be, what they're going to do, like talking about their lectures. And Williamson apparently lectured quite widely. And same as like Truman, is it Bertram? Bethram?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of hanging out with Williamson quite a bit, crossing paths with Adamski and all of that. And of course, William Dudley Pelley was pretty present in that movement too, and published a lot of these guys in his kind of soulcraft publishing endeavor.
Yeah. I mean, they and that crew is essentially responsible for, putting steel doors on theosophy, essentially, like taking theosophical concepts that were developed, at the turn of the 18th or 19th to 20th century, and putting elements of futurism upon it. And this is kind of what Pelley does with his apocalyptic Judeo-Christian themes as well.
Not too much Judeo going on in Pelley's stuff.
Oh, not Pelley. George Hunt Williamson.
Oh, Williamson.
Did I say
yeah.
Pelley?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's like, sometimes people throw out the term Nazi as speculation, but William Dudley Pelley was actually an American Nazi, and
no, he was.
all of
He
that.
was
we've labored upon that fact, and
proud Nazi.
George Hunt Williamson's affiliation with him certainly calls into question some of the alien race theory and all of that in the books.
He flirts with that kind of thing, as a lot of the contactees do, except like Van Tassel. But a lot of the contactees are flirting with, right-wing politics, as a lot of the New Age movement was and continues to. It's kind of like these strange bedfellows that have these sort of, underground connections that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes on both sides, though.
Obviously, but this milieu in particular, like, is...
Sure, yeah. I just think that, like, I know that maybe this is the first time people have heard a lot of these names, maybe listening to this. I definitely would like to give a little bit of background on George Hunt Williamson, but there's obviously sketchy elements to it all, and there was investigations of a lot of flying saucer groups in the United States. We're talking about, as early as the early 1950s. They were investigated for infiltration by the Soviets, for American communists, for far right ideology, all kinds of stuff. Generally being checked out as, apocalyptic potential dangers as well, all kinds of that stuff like that.
Right.
And that's, heavily present in all of this material. And then the material itself on the surface is often so freaky. I think it was a time of so much myth making, which is what makes it pretty interesting. Like, these guys really were guys and girls, essentially, when you look at people like Blavatsky and stuff like that, a little bit earlier.
Definitely earlier.
But I mean, it was just such a, you're talking about 60 years or so where people really generated so much new mythology.
Sure.
I don't know about another time in history, after the death of Christ that, that had happened, like something like that rapidly and that much. I mean,
like the burned over district era of
but that's,
New
I mean,
York.
I'm saying 60 years. So
including that,
1950 to 1890,
Yeah, no, it's a lot of stuff. It's like America coming into its own as a cultural generator. I don't know. I mean, and the flying saucer stuff in particular has so much to do with the concurrent development of like science fiction subcultures, which is something I always kind of thought of them very separately, because they are separate in some ways. UFO stuff kind of coming from traditions of mysticism, basically, but the way that ufology spread, mostly through like newsletters and zines and once in a while like shortwave radio type stuff, or like micro communities, the Detroit Flying Saucer Club, for instance, or any of the ones that went on to become more important. But they're kind of very similar to, and I guess the Zodiac book that I had just read is kind of filling my mind with these thoughts, but they are kind of a product of the same kind of like fanzine culture, if you get down to it, that, you know, Tolkien fans, later like Star Trek fans, is really kind of like a lot of this discourse that today would be happening in Reddit posts or whatever,
Yeah.
or wherever the nerds
Discord
go
servers,
today,
yeah.
Discord, it was happening in these mailed fanzines. And so there's this crazy archaeological trail of them.
Speaking of, check out patreon.com/consensus unreality, where you can access our full 6-year episode archive. We only have a limited amount of our episodes on our public streaming platforms, but we have the entire archive on patreon.com/consensus unreality. We also have 2 exclusive episodes a month. That's how you'll hear the second half of this episode. We do our printed magazine over there, which is really cool. It includes new writings and archival curated selections, usually in the esoteric, paranormal, or occult arena. General
Original
weirdness,
writing, too.
original writing, original artwork, and you'll get different printed compendium items with that. There's digital writing on the Patreon as well. You can, join our Discord community. And it's the only way to support this show of ours, this independent program. So definitely check that out.
Please check it out. Please, please clap.
Please clap. Yeah.
The Discord, I do want to say, is it's pretty hot. It's never like dead, which a lot of them tend to be for these kinds of communities. It's kind of like a once in a while kind
of thing. That is true. Yeah, there's always a great ongoing discussion on there and great contributors, which is really sick. Yes, but I mean, that is the proliferation of these mythologies through these weird, disparate forms of media is really cool. I mean, we love the Borderland Sciences zines. If you look up archival versions of those, that stuff kind of inspires what we do with our own
I love that
magazine.
Stuff, yeah.
And it's, we've said this on the show many times, but the earliest UFO stuff is the freakiest and the weirdest and the most interesting. And there's so much channeling and there's so much openness to experimentation, but also this weird radio contact thing that has always been fascinating to me. I've just always loved shortwave radio, the possibilities of that, and
yeah, I guess that's not what I meant before, was it? I think I meant is it CB radio? Where would you have kind of a localized pirate kind of broadcast?
Well, it would be on both. I mean,
Yeah.
you could. There's certainly weird chatter on CB. I've heard people getting into great weird discussions on CB with people. I think CF talked about that on our interview with him. But there would be, personal pirate transmissions would go over shortwave.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's funny. That reminds me that in one of Williamson's books, Road in the Sky, I think it's called.
Sick book.
Is an appearance of one of my favorite UFO figures, Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff Cruvant.
Yeah.
He's in there. I think he's 13 or something. And Williamson must have received a letter from him or something. Or somehow went out there to talk to him, or maybe picked it up from a local newspaper. I don't know. But it's about Michael Wolff using flashlights basically to try to contact UFOs and flag them down.
Oh shit, I love that. It's weird too. Isn't there a whole record called Other Tongues, Other Flesh?
Is there whole like Courtney Love?
I think so, yeah. Whole.
That I don't know. But that would be cool.
It'd be funny if I just made that up.
You may have.
Yeah, 1988. Other Tongues, Other Flesh.
Weird. I mean, she seems to be kind
No,
of
it's not. It's a different group, though, I think.
Oh, it's not whole?
It's Whole.
Oh, it's a different Whole.
British group. It's a British group, Whole. Okay, I see.
Whole,
That's
right.
interesting. Yeah.
The wrong Whole.
Okay, that's cool. So it is, it must be a direct reference because it's such a unique title and it slams. I mean,
It does. It's a great title. Is it biblical or is it Shakespearean or do you think he coined it?
I don't know. The
It's
guy's
got to be one or
wildly
the other.
wildly creative. Like that book alone, if you look at the chapters, like it's kind of incredible how much of it gets adopted and
Yeah.
intentionally or subconsciously, in the next 60 years of mythology through so many different avenues. I'm talking the weirdest, like light being positive new age stuff to like the darkest Bud Hopkins intruders stuff. It's all, sort of radiating out from George Hunt Williamson. And I don't mean that it's a
Yeah.
ripoff, but it's like his, I don't know, his influence is carved deep on the whole thing. And the guy's so fascinating too, because he comes out of nowhere. He claims to be an anthropological academic and a professor, but he bought all of his degrees from like fake degree printing operations.
That's great. We need
And
those again.
yeah, I mean, people do it all the time. They lie on
No,
like
I know.
job,
They do. They just make stuff up
resumes.
now.
You could do it. We're encouraging that to the kids out there.
You should do it. It doesn't they don't check.
Yeah, most of them definitely aren't going to check. What are they going to ask for? A diploma?
That was a joke. You should not do that. And if you do,
Is that illegal?
Consensus Unreality LLC is not liable.
Yeah. Consensus Unreality does not provide educational or employment advice,
Or legal advice.
or legal advice, or financial advice, or
God
any kind of
forbid.
advice. Love advice.
We do provide relationship advice for a fee. Yeah.
Yeah, for like alien freak shit.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Wait, did you mention okay, yeah. I'm gonna keep having these like thought bursts about this Zodiac book.
No, I like that. I like that it's like, because it's such a weird
The guy,
thing to make a connection to, but that's kind of what this
it's
is all
totally
about.
connected to it. The guy Paul Dorr definitely was in Round Robin, which was the pre-Borderland Sciences Mead Lane publication.
Oh shit.
And he was also in Shavertron. I was going through the footnotes and kind of the references and stuff and picking out all the zines I knew because he was like super involved in the like paranormal zine field, but he was also involved in like every zine field. Like he was a Minuteman, and so he was involved in like the right wing stuff, like
Yeah.
militia movement stuff. It's like a utterly captivating life. And there's like probably lots of people like that out there that would fit the bill. Maybe not.
God,
Anyway.
I have questions. I'm going to save it for the Patreon though, as a teaser. Yeah. Other Tongues, Other Flesh, though, I feel like that's just one to check out. I have in front of me The Saucers Speak, which is the transcript of the original radio communications. Interesting thing, too, this is happening in 1952. He's making these radio communications. The Babylon Working is right around that, too. What year is the Babylon Working?
I was connected to 47. Was it 47?
I tend to think that, but
Because I know not Roswell. Kenneth Arnold was 47, and the Trinity detonation was 47. Babylon Working might have been later, though.
Babylon Working is 1946. And
Oh, so earlier.
George Hunt Williamson in Other Tongues, Other Flesh has this statement where he says, many received the beam, which definitely harkens back to the Philip K. Dick pink beam of Valis. But he says many received the beam in 1947.
He's right.
So it's kind of like this incredible, we always talk about reverberations of the Babylon Working as a sort of metafictional occult parahistory. Obviously that's in Twin Peaks: The Return, as this, obviously in the Kenneth Grant books, it's a popular theme that there was this window area or portal that was opened by the Babylon Working of Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard in the Mojave Desert, and that, there were these tangential tantrums, these after effects. But it's interesting. I wonder what how privy George Hunt Williamson would have been of that stuff. I mean, you would have had to have been directly involved with the OTO or receiving some sort of OTO publication or newsletter.
Maybe.
I mean, because all the writing about that stuff comes out later.
Yeah, was he in California at the time? I mean, he may have knew Parsons. We don't really know.
He traveled around a bit.
Yeah,
He
he was like
definitely was a popular lecturer at
a lecturer,
saucer groups.
like along with people like Orfeo Angelucci, and like it's kind of reminding me of this time last year when I was deep into talking about Harry Gardner and his Golden Dawn press.
Yeah, now that I kind of am reminded also in Other Tongues, Other Flesh, he keeps calling like the wanderers, the people who are like sent by aliens. There's this statement too in the Saucer Speak where it's like, we left salted apples, which is essentially like the alien civilization saying that they left their own seeds here on Earth and they're coming back to sow those seeds. Which is almost mirrors directly a quote from Radio Free Albemuth, in which he's referring to Valis as a corn god who's harvesting his planted crop and using our time as the battleground. It's very much akin to this salted apples thing and these stowed away wanderers.
Is that from something?
I mean, that's
the
guys that he hits.
He's got lines. Yeah, he's got lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Salted apples. Tastes good, probably, right? I mean,
yeah, but he refers to like the good guys in this cosmic battle as the Knights of the Solar Cross, which is an OTO thing, right? I mean, that's a Golden Dawn or an OTO thing, and probably goes back to Templar stuff.
It's gotta. Those pesky Templars.
Yep.
Writing checks.
They tried.
Cashing checks.
Tried to burn them out.
Yeah, Williamson, I think... I don't know what kind of tradition he really fits into because, I mean, I still don't know if I think of him as like the most influential figure in
Just give ufology. Me another. Give me another.
I don't even know if that's like a...
Name me another.
It's so...
You can't even do it.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's so... not sedimentary, but it's so built, like everything builds on itself. Like it's so much about like these layers of myth that, feed on one another and keep building. And so it's hard to think of a figure. But I mean, you are right that he's calling these eventual kind of mushrooms that pop up like long before they do. Although, I mean, you think that as soon as like the mystery airships showed up in the sky in like the late 19th century, people were thinking of trying to yell out to them. And so his radio thing is probably, a sort of an outgrowth of that.
The radio thing is the least of it to me, because literally,
that's just an example of.
I think one of the first things Tesla said when he was experimenting with radio was that he was hearing disembodied voices from other planets, and
the voice of the void.
Yeah, people speculate that this is a sort of, misinterpretation of magnetospheric sounds. If you've ever heard sounds from what is called a Whistler radio, it's a very low frequency radio. In an open area, it can pick up magnetosphere earth sounds. It can pick up ionospheric sounds.
Is that not insane to think that could sound like voices?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it could sound like dolphins making underwater calls. It can sound like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
And Marconi thought we were receiving direct contacts from Mars.
Mars, yeah, the Mars fixation. I guess it's close. I guess that's reason enough. But I like the idea of people on the moon. Oh well.
What's wrong with that? Go
Never
back,
gonna
bro.
Happen.
I mean, he's also got this idea. This is sort of he's a progenitor of the ancient aliens thing too, because he has this thing, the Solex Mal, which is the idea that the earliest languages are, fractured pieces of an original universal alien language.
Sure. I mean, I feel like there's earlier instances of that. There must be. I mean, even in like weird fringe religions, there must be like people talking about starmen and people coming down and seeding the earth with life. I can't imagine that he was the first one to talk about like the ancient alien thing, although he may have been the first to.
No, I mean, I think it's
give it that
it's
framework.
It's actually in like mythologies,
Yeah.
cultural mythologies and stuff for sure. He was definitely plugged into the I am stuff.
That stuff's fun. Ascended Masters stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to wonder. I mean, he might be like one of the main vectors through which theosophy entered, or theosophy mutated into ufology, or the way that theosophy
into the New Age.
Yeah, theosophy
really
merged with science fiction fandom to create the sort of contactee side of the saucer movement, rather than the, telescopes at night trying to look for spaceships side of things.
Yeah.
Although I guess they kind of are one and the same in the end.
It's true. You make an interesting point, though, like that you can't really separate the birth of science fiction from the whole 20th century mythologies, flying saucers and all that stuff.
And it's not flying, or it's not science fiction like as a genre, because we didn't really have a flying saucer culture when, the early 19th century stuff that really is early science fiction was being written. But it's once we had the technology to distribute like pulp, paper, and the way that dictated a certain style of writing that was in some ways very kind of, what's the word, like crappy and just kind of like tossed off. Of course, a lot of it was beautiful ideas, and the writing was often good too, but the medium of like the pulp magazine, and then the fanzine, and then the paperback novel, I feel like all of this has to do with flying saucers as well.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a popular culture faster than the one that existed in the 19th century is what gave us that, and what probably gave us part of its image as well, of like a sleek spaceship, aside from any reality that it has as an object.
Isn't that kind of interesting that we had these ideas and visions of what another society would look like, but now our own technology has sort of accelerated so fast that we've lost, I feel like I've said this on the show before, but we've kind of lost our ability to conceptualize other potential civilizations. Like now we don't have a shape really to what
Right.
aliens would look like.
They look like
we're
like
sort
a
of
starfish.
we're
Did you see that
imagining
kind of
like
star?
a fifth dimensional object
Right.
that we can't even perceive. Like,
Sure.
that's sort of how
Yeah.
full of ourselves we've gotten in terms of all this stuff.
Is that, you think it's pride?
A little bit. I think that our own technology has gotten so convoluted and shiny and confusing.
Because it feels like things are so rough right now. Like, I feel like we took I mean, this is like going to sound like a Luddite manifesto, but like, I feel like the technology
Luddite manifesto
has gone backwards. I feel like we're turning in on ourselves technologically, and it's going to kind of create this really just like a masturbatory like nonsense culture, and that's probably why we can't envision anything else, even if we try.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. It definitely calls back into question the idea of the solid state intelligence from John C. Lilly's work as well.
Lilly.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about, and we could move over to Radio Free Albemuth.
Science fiction.
But while listening to that, an audio of that manuscript, which, went on to become the material of Radio Free Albemuth, becomes Valis.
It's great that it's so interesting the changes he made too, where he kind of changed it from two distinct characters embodying his own experience into sort of a schizophrenic split character. And the setting in Valis is much different.
Yeah, totally.
Much closer to, the world itself rather than I don't know, but whenever, rather than a fascist imagined America. But what I was going to say is that sometimes the fascist imagined America feels realer in Philip K. Dick today than the sort of 70s California that he talks about that was actually real to him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, his paranoia sort of, God, if he lived right now, I don't even know what that guy would be thinking, but his neurosis certainly fuels the genius in these books. I actually think there's a lot. The DNA of Radio Free Albemuth seems to be transmuted as much into Valis as it does A Scanner Darkly to me. Because there's
when was that written?
A year later.
Oh yeah.
And there's a very tight setting to both of them. Like the environments are kind of claustrophobic, and there's not a lot of movement, where in Valis there's like a ton of movement and wandering, almost on this pilgrimage sort of. But Radio Free Albemuth seems clustered, tight. It's very paranoid, and you get those feelings in A Scanner Darkly too, where almost you're never alone. There's you're not even safe in your own home in both of these books,
or your own mind,
yeah, sure.
Which is rough. I think that's one of his great predictions in his work, is that eventually the mind itself will be a surveilled subject, and that's, it's not totally true now, but we're kind of giving ourselves into that. We're kind of opting into it.
I mean, the beauty of that is that it doesn't have to be true. The idea of it, and the potential of it, affects you and conditions you enough that it doesn't really matter if it's true or not.
It makes me think that the sort of now cliche situation of, feeling like your phone is actually reading your thoughts rather than just listening to you, like it feeding you ads that seem to be reading your mind, that kind of experience that we've all had at this point. I feel like it's probably what people say it is, which is that it's either they're just listening and you are saying more than you think, or the algorithm has actually kind of gotten to a point where it can predict sort of your next move in a chess-like way. Yeah, but I think the purpose of it is probably not...
It's not feeding you anything that's that crazy, so it can predict that maybe you want a beer ad, or maybe you want a Doritos ad, or whatever. And it certainly has access to all of the data that you feed it, every purchase that you make, your microphone, your camera, your location. It's got access to everything, and
but I feel like it's purpose,
it can aggregate the patterns in which you've purchased things. And these algorithms, they're pretty good. I don't know if you've used Claude, but it's pretty impressive in terms of how it works.
Nah. I mean, I'm sure it is. It's an impressive technology. It's really good at probabilistic answers. It's good. It's
good at analysis. It's good at
it's not actually good at analysis. Data. Yeah, right. I mean, it's good at making it look like that, which I guess in the end will reach a point where it doesn't matter.
I'm talking about actual analysis of statistical analysis.
Can it be?
Not
is it not just...
Of course
yeah,
it is.
I guess I don't know where the technology has gone. Is it not just a language model that is, it's not actually thinking about anything. It's doing right?
Well, I don't know. You're getting into the weeds there of
Well, I do think it
probabilistic
matters, though.
determinism and
Anyway,
cognition.
what I was
There's
trying
a
to
whole
say
like I
about
don't.
the AI thing, or about the predictive advertising thing, is that it's likely more akin to what you were saying before, which is that it's almost like a threat or something,
Yeah,
like a behavioral conditioning tool rather than an actual effective marketing or advertising campaign. Because I can't think of a single person who would. I mean, and I know this isn't how advertising works, but I can't think of a single person who would actually, after they feel that their mind has been invaded by that product. Um, of course, maybe they'll do it later and they'll forget about that feeling, but it does feel more like it has to do with
by what? By which product?
whatever the product was that seemed to come up as if by mind reading. I feel like
Yeah,
people
I
would
mean,
rebel against that, but maybe not.
it's
Anyway,
like everything else. I mean, we move so fast that it's like getting eyes on it is the subliminal contact, and it's stickier that it probably
right.
just hangs back there in the background, and your brain is processing it and you're not even on the front. You're not really registering that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah, certainly people enter a kind of trance state when they're on their phones.
It's why it's
Um,
how this content is curated. It's how these
yeah,
algorithms,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
all this shit. Like,
It's bad, folks. And now they're going to put a data center next to grandma's house.
hell yeah. Grandma's not drinking any water tonight.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know. As far as
It's
Radio Free Albemuth goes, his predictions about the political, not that they're actually predictions, his plot, which feels predictive about, the political situation in America is quite eerie.
Does it not feel like maybe the most prescient of our time? Like, because the other ones have elements of science fiction that are
Yeah.
just a little bit ahead or a little bit strange, or there's some phenomenal aspect. But Radio Free Albemuth, the negative forces in it seem very plausible, real, current. The
Yeah.
science fiction element is the savior alien intelligence that is reaching towards us.
Which also might just be God. It's
Yeah.
kind of like he's always kind of waffling on whether or not it's a satellite or a sort of a god, or whether those things even are distinguishable.
Yeah.
And yeah, sort like the villain Ferris Fremont, FFF, Ferris F. Fremont, 666 is kind of like what would you call him? I guess a Nixonian figure for sure, but also like the way that he's really working with the communists. Like he's kind of this grand anti-communist
Mm-hmm.
guy in the classic American tradition of that, obsessed with this fake revolutionary movement in America, which feels also very present in
There's
America.
certainly, the watermark of McCarthyism in there.
Yeah, but the single, like the short word that begins with an A that feels foreign is kind of weird, isn't it?
Mm.
A Ramcheck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's really interesting. Then there's the sort of pro Fremont figures called the Fappers, the Friends.
Yeah.
What is it? Friends of the American People,
Uh-huh.
or something
Yeah,
like
but
that.
FAP.
Yeah,
Were people saying FAP? People weren't using FAP in that way back
They
then.
were not. No, he thought he was like coining something. He was like, "Oh, that's awful clever."
When you listen to the audio or read the book, it's just like FAP for parts of the book is every other word. And
Like,
it's
that Fapper girl was really trying to. That Fapper girl hid drugs in my closet, and it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. If you can get past the name, yeah,
He really cooks on some incredible rants in this one too. Like when he's
Yeah.
talking about the Valis system and encapsulating his whole Black Iron Prison, the Roman Empire never fell, but also like the potential of divinity reaching towards us. Like when he's sort of driving in these rants through the character who receives the contact. It is kind of these incredible pictures of, these ecstatic feelings that he himself was having.
Yeah. We love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. I mean, I kind of get why it was chopped up a bit, and it's bleak, right? I mean, this one it's pretty bleak, and maybe Valis didn't deserve to be a super bleak story, which it's not. I mean, in Valis, the story, there's a wider emotional spectrum, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like a man wrestling with existential questions, religious questions, the import of, questions of divinity and all of this. Like, that's really in the heart of Valis. That kind of stuff is a little bit thinner in this one, and this one is sort of trapped in a more dystopian environment, and it's a little bleak. And I kind of get, it's almost a blessing that the publishers didn't just accept this and almost ask them to rewrite it, because Valis doesn't come out for 5 years after that. That's how much time he had to rework it.
Have you read Valis?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
a couple times.
I think in the end I do prefer Valis, but there's something about Radio Free Albemuth that is just so, I don't know. It captures something else about him, and I think people generally don't like it that much. From doing a little research into like Philip K. Dick fans about this book, and it makes sense because there are parts of it that are kind of half baked. And
that's kind of my issue with it. I think it's
pretty common for his body of work. Like a lot of his books do feel a little undercooked because he was just pounding them out to get his money to support his 20 wives or whatever he had over the course of his life.
King.
Yeah, he was wild.
He had some dark stuff going on too. Shouldn't say that.
Yeah. No, classic Sagittarius. No, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't say
Zodiac.
that. That's, yeah, we love Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's a great, appendage to Valis and to the Valis trilogy.
Appendage, you say?
Yeah.
The dick, as it were.
Oh, fair. Yeah. I think it adds something to the conversation. Certainly like a setting that's very real. And that's in Valis too, like the political setting. It's just very much more the story in Radio Free Albemuth. I just guess that like when I was listening to the audio of it, you're used to him at that time extrapolating concepts and ideas into these very dense layered things.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not exactly what was totally going on, but this is the earliest writing. This is the earliest compiled writing of the 2374 experience and the Valis thing. So it's definitely important in that way as well. You've seen Contact, right?
I have seen Contact.
1997, based on a book by Carl Sagan, eh?
Which is crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Contact. I don't remember. I remember maybe I was 20 when I watched it, and I thought it was cool. But looking back on it now, wasn't it kind of like hammy, like pretty hammy?
Yeah, there's some real hammy shit, actually. I kind of just remember that there's like a terrorist who blows up the, spoiler alert here, but it's a little late, 1997. We're going on a while here. I actually just saw it recently though, for the first time. So I'm right there with you if you haven't seen it. I don't even think I'm ruining the main plot here, but there's a terrorist who blows up like the first spaceship that is a a transmission of instructions from an alien civilization to Earth. They give us these instructions to build this trans-dimensional spaceship, and then terrorists blow it up.
Maybe
cool.
they're just,
I don't know.
They're just like dark forest theory advocates, perhaps.
Possibly. Well, yeah. I mean, I think they were Christian in the film.
Oh God. Just kidding.
Jeez.
Oh God. I know. Just kidding. I know Christianity's on the rise among Generation Z. I'm not
Just gonna let that matzo ball hang out there.
matzo. No, I don't know.
All right, let's move over to Patreon, eh?
Patreon.
I'm
not even sure.
We'll talk a little bit more about Contact. I want to talk about some occult sightseeing in New York City.
Hell yeah.
We'll talk more about your Zodiac book. Some other things we've been looking at. So join us over there at patreon.com/Consensus Unreality. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll be back
You're
soon.
welcome. Oh, not me, right? All right.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, we're back.
We're back. Yeah, Contact's all right. I mean, it's full of stars. Come on, man.
I mean, I think the joke that people make about that movie is, at that time in the 90s, when did Independence Day come out? You had Mars Attacks. You had all these like really hokey but fun alien movies. And Contact, you're probably in the theater waiting the entire movie to see the aliens, and then it's just her dad. Yeah, I forget what.
On patreon.com/Consensus Unreality you will find bonus episodes, written content and much more. This recording contains an exclusive follow-up and bonus episode only on Patreon. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.